Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hey listeners, it's Lara Jane here again, and I am here with Sabine, one of my good friends that I've met. Well, has it been 8 weeks now, or pretty close to 8 weeks? But we're in a class together, and she is so inspiring and amazing. And I know you're going to want to check out the show notes where her bio, her picture, and her ways to contact her are. And I am going to turn the time over to Sabine, and she's going to give you a quick overview of who she is and then tell us how she takes care of herself and keeps herself motivated. Take it away, Sabine.
Thank you so much, Jane. Hello, everybody. Hello, all the listeners. I'm Sabine Becker, and I was born in Germany, as you can hear from my accent. But there is also something a little bit different besides the accent. I was born with very, very small arms due to the drug thalidomide. And for those who maybe don't remember thalidomide, really quickly, it was a medication that was given mainly in Germany to pregnant women to help them with morning sickness, anxiety, and insomnia. And these women, they trusted their doctors. And the doctor said, take this medication. And in the early 1960s, there I gave my age away. No, nobody questioned their doctors. And about 20,000 babies were born with small arms or small legs. I have very small arms, but I got lucky. I have very, very strong legs. And I started to use my feet for all daily tasks when I was a tiny child. So imagine whatever you do in your daily life, like brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, driving your car. Yes, you heard it right. Driving your car, getting dressed, putting makeup on. I do all this with my feet. So from a very young age, I have learned to have a lot of perseverance. Because my parents said, you are not going to cry, you're not going to whine about anything. You do not give up, you persevere, and you find alternative ways of doing things. And that really has shaped my world. When I was a kid, I really learned a lot of resilience, and that sometimes I had to find courage. And a positive attitude has helped me a lot in being able to do all the things you do with your hands, I do with my feet. And I went to a regular school in Germany. I have a beautiful, beautiful son. His name is Nicola, and he was born in 1983. And this year, my son, imagine it or not, he will be 40 years old. And having a baby, it's very, very tough when you have little tiny arms. Again, I needed to find ways to do it differently, because I learned very quickly there's not only just one way of doing things. Oh, my son, like I said, he's 40 years old, and he has given me 3 grandchildren. So that's in very brief, a very short overview over a lifetime of perseverance and joy and love. And there you go. That's my introduction.
I love it. So even with tiny arms, we can take care of ourselves. The other day I was thinking about it, going, all these things I take for granted of brushing your teeth. I can't imagine having to do it with my feet. They're not as talented as yours, for sure. But I do have a question when it comes to self-care. A lot of us imagine self-care is more like these quick release the pressure cooker valve, let the steam off, and then go back to work, where self-care really is more internal, where we prevent that steam buildup from even happening. What do you do for self-care, and how do you do it?
One of my biggest things for self-care is exercise. I love exercising most of my adult life. That has two reasons. Number one, because I use my legs in a different way, I need to stay flexible. So my foot can reach to my head with a brush, right? And can reach my teeth so I can brush my teeth. And also, I just love exercising. And one other thing I love is yoga. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on yoga. I do it 2 to 3 times a week, and I work out 3 times. I'm a runner, and I'm also doing spinning. So that's part of my self-care because I'm working very hard. I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm a transformational coach. I'm finishing up my book, The Power of Push. That's the title. So I have a lot of things going on at the same time. And I think it's so important to take care of me because I'm really important. And Jane, you and I, we have sometimes talked about that bully in our head. You remember how we talked about it? And of course, when you're born, when you look very, very different, like I do, then especially when I was younger, I had this bully in my head. And that bully was telling me all kinds of things about me. Oh, you're not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. Your arms are too small. You speak with an accent there. Of course, you hear an accent. And it was always something the bully pointed out. But what I've learned over many years being in this world, our inner voice is truly the most influential voice in our life because we are with ourselves 24/7. So I have learned over many years to really cross-examine that bully voice inside my head. Is this really true, what the bully voice said? Am I really not pretty enough? Oh, no. And I just always say that's not true because I find something where the bully is completely wrong. And sometimes we talk to ourselves like we wouldn't talk to our best friend. And of course, then we feel ashamed. And I've been there too, like I said, especially when I was a young woman. But then I realized that negative self-talk really can interfere with my personal growth and my development because I want to be, I am an inspirational speaker, so I better have this positive vibe around me so people are drawn to me and not this self-critical. It is easy to say, and especially I think we all have something about us. For me, it was these tiny little urns. For others, there might be other things going on. And always remember, our inner voice is the most influential voice in our lives. And that really has helped me big time.
It's just pure inspiration. I just love it when we get to talk. It's like so much fun.
I know. I love speaking to you every time I see you. Jane is a really, really just a real, she is an example how to be in life, I think.
Well, thank you.
Seriously.
But this episode's all about you, not me.
Aww.
So I listening to what you said and stuff, and you're using my terminology. Good job. But that bully voice is just, you hear somebody say something one time. It's one time, and I replay it 1,000, if not more. And I am a bigger impact for replaying that. And I was thinking the other day, how is it that we dwell on those things that are negative instead of the positive? There's just as many beautiful moments in life as there are negative moments. when I started, this is what came to me. So, like, if you're sitting in a swimming pool and you're floating and you're just there suspended in peace, there's nothing to worry about. But when you bump into the side, you think about it and you change direction. And I thought about that when we're not bumping into a side, we're just in that peaceful zone and we're not thinking about, oh, this is great. Oh, if I just was in the middle of the pool, then I would always float better. We only worry about when it went wrong or when somebody gets in our way. And so those memories stick in our heads so much more. And it's like, how do we quit? I understand they're for a reason. They're there to protect us from getting burnt again or for running into something again. Those instincts and those memories are there, but so many of them are benign and not helping us survive. Right. And those are the ones that are so hard to silence. I don't know.
And that is so true. Again, when I was younger, 20 years ago, 10 years now, 20 years ago, I was on stage and I had this wonderful speech and everybody was applauding me. But that one person came up to me and said something slightly negative. What do you think I walked away with?
With that one,
the 100 people.
Person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's a big transition to take those and go,
it really is, because it is that person's perception, and I cannot worry about anybody else's perception or assumptions about me or about my speech or about my coaching program. I don't worry about it anymore. But I have to say that that was a really long road, and I prefer today to truly focus on my strengths, what I'm good at. And so when somebody today comes by, well, Sabine, this one really was not that great. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I know that I did the best I can. But that was a long road. It sounds so simple today. And I really don't know.
Don't you think it's even more than that? It's not that you did the best you can. You did what was supposed to be delivered. That person wasn't ready to receive it. It has nothing to do with your delivery. Absolutely. It's 100% to do with the person who received it. And
you bring out,
So if you were to go back to your younger self, like say back when we were beating ourselves up constantly, because both of us have really battled that.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, if I was to go back and tell some of these pieces of words of wisdom, I would go, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And so how do we get to or inspire that person who's still in that, this is the way life is, and this is going to keep me alive sense, instead of really focusing and reframing things in a more positive? What wisdom could you tell me back then that would have made me actually listen? Because I'm pretty stubborn.
So am I. Oh my goodness, especially again when I was younger. But I found the most helpful thing is to learn to practice mindfulness. Because when we pay attention to how we word things, how we come across, and when negative thoughts arise, and they still do today, even today, I cannot help it. Sometimes it's here's an example. I speak Italian, and I love Italian. I go to Italy a couple of times a year. So just the other day, what did I say to myself? Oh, I don't know why you're not further in Italian. All the others, they speak so much better Italian than you. And then I caught myself right away. So I practiced mindfulness. I redirected my thinking, or whatever you want to call it. I redirected it. And reframed it in a positive way. I told myself, I cannot judge myself. I have studied Italian for approximately 18 months. And I would say I'm relatively fluent now, intermediate fluent. And I cannot compare myself to anybody else. I can only compare myself to what I did yesterday, what I did even 2 hours ago. That's all I can do. And I think mindfulness, that probably did the trick for me. Although, like this example underscores, I still say to myself, why don't you speak better Italian? So mindfulness to me and redirecting. Okay, when that ugly bully voice comes along, why don't you speak better Italian? Well, excuse me, Mr. Bully, that's not true. I speak very good Italian, intermediate. And so I redirect it in a positive way.
Absolutely. I love it. I love your strength.
Thank you.
So if you were to say, well, tell me, who is your best friend?
My best friend?
Yeah.
Jillian. Her name is Jillian.
And why or what is it about her that puts her in that category of best friend?
She's always there for me when I need her. And she always gives me hardcore advice, but in a loving way. That would describe Jillian.
I love it. So one of the goals that in my head is, how do I become my own best friend? And I try to model, what is it about other people that I admire? So in your situation, it would be someone who shows up for me, doesn't let me down, doesn't sit there and tell me all the negative things that we've talked about, and then tells you the harsh reality. So how do we turn our internal self-talk to a harsh, not harsh, but gentle, this is how life is, reality kind of situation, yet still be kind and loving and empowering? How do you do that in an empowering voice?
I try to redirect. Like I said earlier, when these funny voices appear once in a while, I redirect from that negative self-talk to positive. But I try to stay real also, because maybe sometime I don't study my vocabulary as much as I could, but I'm trying not to judge myself, even if I could have done the homework a little bit better. Not judging, because judging is not a cool thing. It's really not cool at all. So I redirect, but at the same time, I try not to judge, and I want to stay real. Because if I say, okay, Sabine, you did not study as hard as you could. So next time, for next week, you look at the words a little bit closer. You try your pronunciation out. And so it's not harsh self-talk, but I really want to stay real too, because I want to learn from maybe my mistakes so I can become this better version of myself.
Yeah, that's great wisdom. I love the better version of yourself. And all the things that you can do to do that. We're kind of at the end of the time frame that we set apart together, kind of targeted. So do you have any last minute items that you would like to tell our listener?
Well, yes. I mean, we talked, I think we talked a lot about the negative self-talk, but what I would like to leave listeners with is adversity, because I work with people who experience adversity, and it doesn't need to be a big disability like I have or some illness. Adversity, it is what it is for people. And I came up after a life-changing event, I don't want to go into right now, with the acronym P.U.S.H. And I want to tell your listener what that stands for. P.U.S.H. stands for persevere until success happens. So the next time you encounter adversity, and we all will at one point in our life or several points in our lives. Remember, push, persevere until success happens. There are survival tips of hope, positive mindset, reframing, courage, resilience, and perseverance. So you have all the tools when adversity comes into your life. And that's what I would like to leave our listeners with.
I love that wisdom. That is just so beautiful. And I am going to start pushing more because, well, I don't usually give up, but
not you.
But I do get knocked down once in a while. So I do get back up. So I that is using the push. So I love it. So
thank you so much.
So much for joining us, listener. Thank you for hanging out with us for the last little bit, and stay tuned for the next episode, which is our weekly challenge.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.